On the eve of the federal election, a claim has been made that the Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke is rushing through citizenship ceremonies to buy votes in marginal seats. Joining us live, our Friday panel now between the Nationals and the Teals, Senator Bridget McKenzie and the Independent MP Zoe Daniel. Good morning to you both. Bridget, I'll start with you. Do you agree with Peter Dutton here that these ceremonies are being rushed for a partisan advantage that could compromise security checks?
Well, great to be with you, Pete. I do think we're seeing industrial scale seat stacking by the Labor Party across Western Sydney. They've taken Western Sydney for granted for too long, and they're seeing great coalition candidates like Sam Cale in Werriwa standing up and fighting for local roads, and all of a sudden his local community saying, you know what? You've done nothing for us, Labor, and we want to get this country back on track and get the focus back on Western Sydney, and so are considering voting for Liberal candidates. And as a response, this government has done what no other government has done, 12,500 new citizens processed with a handshake from the minister himself, not from mayors. And the fact that they're holding 6,000 in one go, they're not happening out in Shepparton or in Dubbo or in Zoe's seat they're not happening in Brighton, they're all in Western Sydney because the Labor Party is feeling the pinch. Well,
Labor fiddled with Fowler last time and we know what happened there. Di Lee's going to be joining us in the program in a moment, but just on the back of your claim as a response to that, Bridget, before we go to Zoe, so Tony Burke's response overnight that they'd been fully processed, they passed every check under law, so why should they be prevented from making their pledge here? Is that good enough?
Well, I would hope all processes have been undertaken to ensure that we are getting people to join us to build a prosperous, safe and sustainable Australia into the future. My concern is on the eve of the election, you literally have industrial scale seat stacking going on in these Western Sydney seats. 12,500, Pete. I've been to citizenship ceremonies my entire 14 years in politics. I've never seen anything of this scale, this urgency, and I've never seen a minister.
OK, Zoe, industrial scale seat stacking, do you agree?
I've seen no evidence to prove that, Pete, and quite frankly, citizenship ceremonies are the most beautiful experience as an MP. It's a huge decision for anyone who chooses to change their citizenship from one country to another. It's a big day for all of those people. And if people have met the conditions of Australian citizenship, then they should be able to take citizenship. It's a huge step. And really, unfortunately, this sounds like the usual coalition dog whistling on migration. What is happening in Western Sydney, I've seen no evidence for what the Senator's describing nor what the opposition leader is describing. And I really hope that this election campaign doesn't devolve into a toxic migration debate, because I think we can do better than that. OK,
we'll get to migration in a moment, with in particular the Migration Act that Peter Dutton wants to change. But just, Zoe, on the optics of it all, it could draw these questions, though. Wouldn't it be better to do it at another time rather than months out from a federal election?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be better to do it when people have met the conditions for entry? Many of these people would have been waiting years for entry. Some of those people might fear that migration laws will be changed after the election and it might somehow affect them. You know, these issues cause a lot of anxiety for people. So you know, if they're ready to come in,
why is this geo-targeted? Why is this geo-targeted, though? That's the question. Zoe's right. The wanting to become a citizen list is long, because it's the greatest gift that anyone can get is citizenship of this great country. And we have a rich migrant history of success. I want to know why it's geo-targeted to Western Sydney and that it's only people in certain locations that are getting the option to actually have their citizenship ceremony conducted by the thousands, you know, days out from an election being called. The reality is, once the election is called, you have 7 days to register to enrol to vote, and then you miss out. So, you know, the facts speak for themselves on this one.
Well, let's get your response to that, Zoe.
does the coalition really think those seats are going to be that tight that those votes are going to be win or loss ratio for them? I mean, I think that's an interesting question. And again, you know, this is a news story that's broken this morning. I've seen no evidence for what the senator's describing. And again, I would say citizenship ceremonies should be held very dear. They're an important day for those people, and let's not take that away from them.